Hi, everyone. My name is Anthony Cruz III, and I am the publisher of the Capital Sports Report. Uh, I am also the host of the Capital Sports Report Live. Before our guest joins us tonight, I would like to play this video.
Oehler trying to grab the Wally of this second race of the 2021 season. Steve Johnson has huge problems. Polacek goes red as we get to the finish line stripe. It is going to be Ryan Oehler, 691.1, 194 miles an hour, 2 final rounds, 2 races, and a Wally for Ryan Oehler, the second of his career, his 4th career final round. Let's just say it, this kid's arrived.
Well, and you can hear the hollering up here at the top end, guys. Ryan, you said that you have faced some mechanical challenges today. When you overcome those battles and win the Wally, how much more gratifying is that?
The weekend off first pass at the sand at the end of the track. We make round one, we basically ruined the engine. We got no oil pressure all the way down the track. We change motors, make a rapid turnaround. My dad at home working his butt off, Bad Brad. My wife watching, cheering up and down with our new baby on the way. And I can't thank my family enough, my team, my crew, my sponsors, NGK High Performance Lubricants, everybody that's helping me out so much. Thank you. Thank you. This is awesome. We got our second Wally, baby. There's gonna be more.
Congratulations.
Tonight, we are joined by NHRA Pro Stock motorcycle driver Ryan Oehler.
Hey, how you doing, everybody?
Ryan, how did you get started in racing for those that do not know?
I got to say first that video there, the recap from the race there in 2021, still gives me chills. I just regret saying there's going to be more because I feel like as soon as I said that, I put a monkey on my back because I sure did. But I got involved in racing. It starts basically at birth. I was at Gator Nationals in my mom's womb in March of 1984. So, I basically born into a racing family. And my dad had raced, started in pro stock cars, couldn't afford to play the game, got it, made a big transition, went into the world of the V-twin market. We shifted everything into the all Harley world. So I grew up the little kid in the shop, and they taught me how to weld at age like 5 just to keep me busy and keep me away from whatever they were doing, so they could, get the products out the door and try to keep me distracted. But basically, they put me on motorcycles when I was about 5 years old, and I pursued, getting interested in racing, in that 16-year-old window. I mean, I was a fan. I remember going to the U.S. Nationals when I was about 13 years old and seeing Angel, seeing Antron Brown, being part of all the excitement of racing. And then, of course, you start to transition into racing on my own and racing with your Sportsman series and Super Chevy shows, and then really started focusing heavily on motorcycles and wanted to utilize my dad's skill set and our resources at home and start to get into pro motorcycle racing.
When you were at the Gator Nationals in, I think you said 84, was your father racing in a pro stock car, or you just as
bike,
a fan?
Pro stock bike?
Okay.
So, yep, he was on his gas Harley. My dad had got involved in when he left the pro stock car world in the end of the 70s. He sold everything and bought a brand new Harley Davidson, like a 1980, and shovel head, and turned it into one of the fastest gas shovel heads in the world. Took about 10 years, but at that time there wasn't really a lot of people pursuing the gas Harley classes with the level of knowledge and resources that my dad had. But being that meant there was really no one to help. You're just out on your own, and that's really the forefront of this whole racing world is the teams that do all this stuff on their own and the teams that put all the work forth in the shop to get out there and perform.
When you were younger, did you want to pursue racing, or did you want to pursue like a stick and ball sport or music? Was it always racing?
They showed me a picture I drew in kindergarten. It's a picture of a race bike, a set of leathers. It's not real, not super artistic, but it was clear to see that there was definitely something in my head that said this is probably something I'm going to end up doing.
When that dream became a reality, what did you think?
Well, I mean, at a certain point, I I had to decide I wanted to go pro. I mean, like I had been racing at Super Chevy shows with my car, and then I stopped racing my car and got a motorcycle. I got a Buell. Um, I grew up in a Harley shop, but I liked the sport bike concept. I like going fast, so I got a Buell and I started racing it, and I realized, I need to get into a pro class. I need to pick a pro class. So I seeked out the AHDRA, the All Harley Drag Racing Association, and the AMRA, and found a class in that sanctioning body that I could go for that was pro and build a bike. Um, Picked a class. Now the hard part is the money part of it. How are you gonna afford to do this? I had three
Right.
jobs, full-time college student, and I ended up taking out a $30,000 school loan to start building my first bike.
Wow.
And that process in life right there taught me more about patience and what we were really doing more than anything I've ever learned. I was able to see from concept to creation to championship what that really takes to do, and it taught me a very valuable, many valuable lessons, and really showed me what it takes to get to the winner's circle more than anything. So, really, once we made that bike a champion, and that was the fastest bike in the world in the All Harley Pro Mod class, I knew that if we could get involved in pro stock, we could really push our limits of what, how do we stack up against these other teams. And of course, the whole problem again is a money situation. It takes a lot of money to compete at this level. And we were able, because of George and Jackie Bryce of Star Racing, they helped me, get me involved, gave me a solid package to get started with. And really now it's the fact that I see where I stand right now in the class and how cool it's going to be once we go full circle like we did in the All Harley sanction, and we take this bike and turn it into the fastest bike in the world. And I'm very confident that we can do that. It just it's all about time, it's about money, and it's about really having a goal and going after it.
Yes, you mentioned that you're a two-time you mentioned competing in the AMRA.
Yep, that's
Well,
the
you are,
American Motorcycle Racing Association. So that's
yes.
them and the AHDRA are your two top All Harley classes.
And while you were competing there, you were an AMRA. What does those championships mean to you?
Oh, I mean, that's really when we started to really see what we were capable of doing, and seeing how at the end of it, when the last championship I won, we won every race that season but one. I red lit in the very first race of the season in the finals, and realized that if we're going to work this hard and we're going to put this much effort forth, that we need to be out there with the big dogs, because we were really showing that we were putting a lot of effort into the grassroots professional racing categories, and we love the class. I love the All Harley family that I have, but we really had to go and see if we could hold our breath in the deep end of the pool, so to say. And but it taught me, like I said, there's nothing more valuable that I learned than that process of going from concept to creation to championship, and seeing what it actually takes, the science behind winning and what that is, and the patience you got to have to make it happen. That's what probably paid me most, put most back in the pocket, was that learning how to do that.
According to the NHRA, your bio on there, you're still an AMRA Pro Mod Harley record holder. Is that still the case?
Yep. We set the record. I think it was the very last race of the year. We had an opportunity to capitalize on a little bit of weather, and it was kind of unique. We had a bike in front of me wrecked and took the tree out, and we had just ran our first run before that, and we had a new set of cams in the bike, and the power wasn't there. The new cams that we had in there showed we were down like 3 mile an hour, And you're talking about a bike we made 1,000 runs with. So as soon as we did something different, we checked it out. It showed on the time slip we were down a little bit. So when the guy wrecked in front of us, we said, I mean, I was in the water box. So we went back to the pit and took the cams out, changed the cams. And the guys I'm racing with are like, why are you changing your cams? Like, you just ran 300s off the national record. I'm like, oh, because we're going to set the record on the next pass. And, we did. We set the record, and we didn't set the quarter-mile record, but we set the 8th-mile record and showed that it was the quickest bike out there because it was really trucking.
As a former Harley-Davidson rider, Harley-Davidson left the sport 2 years ago. I believe so, 2 years ago. What was your thoughts when they decided to leave the Vance and Hines team?
It was a sad moment. They've been supporting the drag racing NHRA sanction and other sanctions for a while. I mean, honestly, when I first got my Pro Mod built, my Pro Mod Harley, what I had worked on, took me 5-6 years to get it to where it was. I show up at the last 2 races of the AHDRA's existence, and I finished the last race of the year, and then the sanctioning body, Harley pulled the plug on them and they went under. And I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So that's when I joined into the AMRA, because that's where all Harley racers were going. We all reunited under that sanction. But
okay,
when Harley left NHRA, I was like, oh, here we go again. I'm just getting competitive. I'm feeling good. And now, there's a little bit of turmoil in the class and how that was going to affect us. And it's fine. It's just a shift of ties. Suzuki's in there now. Another big company promoting the class. And of course, there's a lot of politics involved, but we won't get into that. We're happy to have, companies interested in getting behind the class and the sport. And it's great to have a big company like Suzuki or Harley Davidson involved.
But with you riders today, there's different companies that you guys all ride. And I believe the Vance and Hines team's got a new bike that they are bringing out, or they brought out already, that is different than what most of you guys already drive.
Sure, a lot of it's body work that changes. I mean, you can have any kind of chassis concept you want that is under the skin of the bike. So when there's a new body design out there, there's some key elements of aerodynamics that kick in that make you look at and decide whether that's more, of an advantage or not. And the wind tunnel testing really tells you that. But, when you have a big sponsor like Suzuki behind the class, they want their most current to date body work being displayed as it goes down the track, and that's really the big push, I'm sure, for why that body style got, allowed to be involved in the NHRA. But that's what's good for the sport, though. Change, a lot of people are hesitant about change. Change is good.
Yes.
It just, NHRA has a hard task of keeping the class even, because the Suzuki versus the V-twin concepts are 2 very different engine concepts. And I think they do a fantastic job of keeping us handlebar to handlebar with the rules. It's just touchy because rules that are changed often, people start to wonder and why, and it just creates drama. And a lot of people, don't want to see someone favored more than the other. And then, a bunch of drama gets kicked in there. And, no matter what, as George Bryce said, put it on the scoreboard. Whoever's got the fastest stuff is going to show you, and it's going to be on the scoreboard.
Well, we saw that last year. I don't know if you saw this, but or even heard about this. Like Stevie Fast Jackson was complaining about something, and then all of a sudden, like 2 days later, rule change.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of that too, and it's a hard thing to participate in when you're not on the right side of the fence. But the same thing, you don't want to see someone else being taken advantage of either. But it's I wouldn't want that job. It would be a very tough job to have, to keep a class so diverse, even just like Pro Mod, where you have 3 different power adder combinations that all have different advantages, and yet you have to change the rules to keep everybody competitive,
Yes. And then like the NHRA this year, they got the A-Fuel funny cars, and some people don't like that, so they retired.
Yeah, it's you want to find a group of a bunch of whiny people looking into racing, because there's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. Your father, Brad, is your engine builder and developer for your Flying Ryan team. And could you talk about having him part of your team? A lot of racing teams out there today are family oriented. They have their family involved.
Well, my dad's the lifeblood of our team. I mean, without my dad, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be able to be here. You're talking about a guy that's 68 years old today. He's been working every day, 7 days a week since he was 14 years old in this industry. Currently today, I'm in the front office. He's in the back right now. We're still here working, so we work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day minimum on our racing program. And some big things are going to come out of that because there's not a lot of teams that can utilize the skills that my dad has. Basically because the amount of money it would cost your average person to just say, hey, I want you to work on a new set of cylinder heads and I want them to flow better than my current heads. And you say, okay, well, here, let me drop, I'm just going to drop these off to you and let me know how much it costs. Well, the guy comes back and says, well, I've worked on them now for 30 days straight at 10 hours a day at $100 an hour. Someone would be like, oh,
Yeah.
So, I mean, that cost that we absorb in doing this in-house is just tremendous. But, I haven't really given my dad the opportunity to really do what he's good at, which is developing until now because we've been chasing reliability. And now we've got some good reliability. So he's able to spend his time doing better things, such as developing and not fixing all my blow-ups and boo-boos and bangs, all my blow-ups, basically. So,
Yeah. So for those that do not know, Ryan is nicknamed the Flying Ryan, and I read in a story that you kind of stole that from someone.
yeah, a friend of mine's name was Flying Taco, and my name, is Ryan Oehler. My last name is spelled Oehler. Everyone gets it wrong. Oehler. So I said, that's just not good. That's not mainstream enough for me to go out and campaign to the world. So I'm going to go with Flying Ryan, and so that was kind of just a weird moment, just sitting down with a buddy of mine at I think Wing House in Clearwater. And I said, man, everyone loves your name, man. Flying Taco, man, that's just too good. I said, Taco doesn't work for me, but Flying Ryan does.
Yeah, I remember. Well, I live in the Philadelphia region, and it was kind of bad for them Eagles fans yesterday.
Oh yeah.
But there was a Philadelphia Phillies player back in the day, like 10 years ago, Shane Victorino. He was called the Flying Hawaiian because he's from Hawaii.
Oh yeah. We've had a few of those in the racing world too.
In 2017 or 2016 or before then, you decided I want to give the NHRA a try. At the time, what made you decide to pursue the NHRA instead of another organization like you did previously?
It was my goal since day one to be racing a pro stock bike in the NHRA. I mean, when I set out to build my pro mod Harley, my goal was I chose that bike because it's the little brother to a pro stock bike. And the goal was this is a perfect trainer for me to be able to hone in my skills and get some good heads up pro class experience. But then with one day, the hope that I could somehow, afford to get involved in NHRA. And so I had really been, sought out to race NHRA in the very beginning. And it's because it's the highest level of drag racing in the world, and if you want to see if you can stack up with the best, you got to go where the best are.
Yes. What's it like for you when you go out there and like you well, Andrew Hines is retired now, but you got Eddie Krawick, Angels without a ride. I haven't seen an announcement of her coming back, but you have these people heavy hitters that you face like every race, like Matt Smith and Jerry Savoy and other people in your sport or your category. I mean,
we're all a family, I don't know if it's like this with the cars, but with the bikes, we all really treat each other like a family, and you might have that stepbrother that you don't really like very much, that, you may have a little bit of differences with. And of course, every family's got that, but we all still love each other and we all still love to race against each other. And, we're very fortunate to have the group that we have. Everybody's a good person, but everybody wants to win, and everybody is very competitive. So we're there to race, but when the racing's over, we all still are there to help each other and be part of the family.
Yes, and I know one of them. I don't remember if she retired or she's just taking a break, but Karen Stuffer may be limited this year.
Yeah, Karen has retired. Karen's one of the best riders out there. She's currently holds the record in the class and finished the year off with, in a high note. She kind of had some struggles, but still nothing like finishing off the year of your career with the world record quickest pass in all-time history. And I'm sure that you probably potentially want to trade that in for a championship, but at the same token, I think that's still a pretty good thing to go out on.
Yes, maybe she would come back down the road.
You just never know.
Seems like they do that.
Yeah, it's just hard to walk away from it, right?
Yeah, because like Jeg's retired a few times, and he'd come back. He's retired right now, but he may come back. Karen retired before. She took a little break and she came back. Ellie Tongler said he was retired, and look, he came back when Kelly Clounce had her breast cancer. I think wasn't it breast cancer or something?
I'm not quite sure on the medical condition she had, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of us that want to, think you might walk away, but you want to come back. I know I can't walk away. I'm way too invested. I'm stuck here. So yeah. I mean, I'm very fortunate. We didn't touch on yet, but what I think, aside from how hard it is to develop, race, make horsepower, win races, I think some of the hardest things I've had to do in the sport is figure out the marketing side of it and the business side of it and turning the whole thing into a business. And, I'm so lucky to have El Bandito Yankee Tequila on my side. That's a local tequila company in my town that I'm from. And they got behind me, pretty much right after that win in Vegas that you posted to start the interview with. And now, they're really heavily behind me for this season, and our whole rig is wrapped, and we're doing a whole bunch of different marketing events. We're going to be in Daytona Bike Week. We're going to be down in Florida for the OCC Roadhouse. That's a giant bike show coming up. We're going to be at NASCAR events. And so we're really going after exposing their brand and getting them out into the world of the bars and restaurants and liquor stores and showing what it's like to have a premium top line tequila on your team.
I want to ask you about that. You said you're going to go to a NASCAR event. Have you been to like a NASCAR event or
never been to a NASCAR race? Never been to one. But they're going to be racing. They're going to be racing on the streets of Chicago in, I believe, July, the 1st of July.
Yes, first one.
Since that's our home state, and El Bandito's big turf up in Chicago, so I'll be up there supporting El Bandito in the NASCAR event.
Would they potentially send you this weekend to Daytona?
I won't be going to Daytona, but I will be going down probably to Bike Week.
Okay. That's in March, I believe, right?
Yeah. Bike Week starts on the 3rd. So right before Gainesville, I'll be making a stop at Bike Week.
Okay. You talked about other events that they're going to send you to. Are you allowed to talk about those?
Yeah.
Elaborate on those?
So I'm going to go to Bike Week the first week of March. Then we're going to Gainesville. And then I'm going to end up going to Pomona for the Winter Nationals. But I'll be going to I won't be going to race because the bikes don't race on the first Western leg. So first, they go to Phoenix, then they go to Pomona, and then they go to Vegas, and then Charlotte. So the bikes pick back up on the calendar in Charlotte. But I'm going to be going to Pomona to set up the Midway display, and I think we're going to have a NASCAR on display on the Midway as well, and do all the tequila sampling and all that type of stuff. So we've made our presence known in Southern California with El Bandito Yankee Tequila. So I'm going to go out there and carry the torch forward and show the fans that we're still there to support Southern California. And then after that, we go to Charlotte, And after Charlotte, I go back down to Florida and we do an event at the OCC Roadhouse. So that's, if you
With
recall,
Orange County Choppers?
yeah, they got a big fancy restaurant and bar that's in the middle of Clearwater, Florida.
Okay.
And they're having a huge bike show event where they're going to have roughly 30,000 people there over a few days. So we're
Wow.
gonna have our pro stock bikes on display there, and then we come back home and get ready to go to Joliet. So be back in my backyard again for another round of Joliet Route 66 Raceway, which we have all missed. We haven't been there since
I
2019.
was going to mention that.
So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. I don't have, my calendar doesn't go much further than that at this point because that's enough on my table to choke a horse.
All right. So since you mentioned Route 66, last year it came back after a few-year hiatus with the sportsman cars, but this year it's officially back. What's it going to be like for you when you race close to home?
It's a lot less travel back when the race is over and you got a Wally, hopefully. But it's real fortunate when you live in the central part of the country. You got Indy. When I got started, it was great. I had Indy, I had Joliet, I had St. Louis, and then Bristol's not too far. Ohio's not too bad. Topeka, Kansas, we got to race there last year. It's when you got to make those jaunts to Seattle, Washington, just to California. We complain about it because everybody complains about long journeys, but man, can you imagine being on a race team and living in Southern California where everything is
Yeah.
really far away? So, I mean, we're really fortunate in that matter because, and that's kind of how Indy really had its benchmark in the sport anyway. A lot of the teams were all from Indianapolis, and it was the mecca of racing. And it's also because of that centralized area that allows you to be able to go to each side of our country, and get to one place or another more economically than being in the top corner of our country and have to go all the way to the other side.
Yes. And there's still teams out in California like Jim Dunn Racing, Jeff
Yep.
Deal with his funny cars out of California.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
I think the ones that are competitive, they're out there though. They got to have some satellite branches, to get the job done as they go across the country. So,
yeah.
but yeah, that'd be a very difficult task.
Yes. Back to the NHRA in 2018. You kind of did the full schedule. You did 15 of the 16 races at the time for your category. You talked about that was always your dream. When you got that, when you did basically all the schedule except for one in 2018, what was that like when you finally realized, okay, this is what we're gonna do? We did nearly all the races on our schedule.
I did all of the races in 2018. That was whatever they
Okay.
were, all 16. I went to every one of them. That's in fact though, in 2018, I went to 29 national events that year. So that
Wow.
included testing events as well as other racing events and NHRA. So 29 weekends out of the year, I was gone. That's a lot of miles and a lot of
Yes.
late nights. So the next year we went to 24 different outings and national events in 2019. And that's when I looked at my dad after the year before and I said, how many red eye flights home? How exhausted are you? I mean, and my engine builder and developer has been gone for a third of the year. I said, this is probably an opportunity you need to think about that. I'm okay out here on the road. I can handle it, but we need you back in the shop. As much as I love having my dad with me at the races, he is our engine builder and developer. And, he puts forth the most effort and contributes the most to the team when he's at the shop working on our program. And there's a lot of time that's wasted out on the road, but it's just part of it. You gotta,
Yeah.
you gotta do what you gotta do to get it done. I mean, you got to be there to win. So you got to travel, you got to fly, you got to drive, you got to do whatever it takes. So, but you got to work it on both ends too. You got to have the guys back home working as well when you're out racing.
Correct. And I would like to correct that my previous statement. So you qualified at 15 of the 16 events that you attended.
Yeah, that's rough though. The one I didn't qualify for. Yeah, I almost had that this year or last year. That's how bad our 2021 season was. Or what year was it? 2022.
22.
22. Yeah, I almost didn't make one because we just had so much trouble. But we're coming through it now. We just ran really strong. We just been testing in Florida here. Yeah, we went to 5 different days. We've tested already in 2023. So we started off in Clearwater, Florida. We ran at Showtime Drag Strip, which is where we do our Tampa Bay race rental drag racing program there. Had 3 days testing there to knock the dust off and get everything on track. And then we went home, worked for a week, came back, went to Gainesville, and we spent it was going to be 3 days there. We got cut 1 day short because of rain, but we've made about 25, 30 laps already on the bike for the season, and everything is going very well. We're running some strong numbers, got good reliability, and we're running as fast as we were back in 2020 when we were at our prime.
Speaking of 2020, you won your first career win at Indianapolis after the hiatus of the pandemic. What does that mean to you? Do you have that Wally in your shop there?
It's right here, actually. Let's see. There we go. There's my Wally. He's got to have his little pandemic mask that we made him, after we won that race. But yeah, I mean, your first one that you'll never forget, it happens to come in a time of, very unknowns and definitely a terrible time in our world and country during pandemic. But to be able to come out of it, persevere, we're a strong country. Racers are the strongest people out there, So we came out swinging, and we were really ready at that time. We had some power that we started making, and we really though, that's what kind of started to put us over the edge. Is once we started making some good power, the reliability just wasn't there for us. So the struggles that came after that, after our performance in 2020 and 2021, is when we really started to see we needed to do something to change our program around. So we started searching for some reliability. And once we got it, there was a whole nother bee's nest that we had to decipher through to start making it fast again. So yeah, it was definitely it's a challenge, and there's a lot of, you never know what's around a corner, but right now I think what's around the corner is some good success for our team again, and we can get back out there and show our sponsors and friends and family that we're back here to win.
Speaking of sponsors, when you went through that 2020 season coming back, being that it's your own team and you do have some support from others, did they maybe say we can't help you because of what everything was going on and a lot of business had to shut down?
Since I never at that, I mean, there was some that we had to adjust, there was some funding that was cut back, and of course we're all, and I know that everyone was really worried about that. You got some big racing teams out there that are heavily, 100% sponsored by corporate America.
Yes,
people in our industry. Yeah, so I mean, that was a scary time, but for us, we've been real fortunate that back home, our heating and cooling company and my family and all the guys who work for me, we were able to keep it together. I mean, we were in the service industry. No matter what, we still had to work. It just made it very tough to be out there during the pandemic and work and take care of everybody that was still having troubles. I mean, you'd go to someone's house that, they have no heat and it's cold, and but we all got COVID. Oh, okay. Well, you stay over there and I'll go fix your furnace, so, but yeah, it's, we're all super lucky to have that behind us now. And now it's time to get back to the good things that this country has to offer in this world, and let's get out there and see some racing.
Yes. Speaking of that, when you did go to the houses and they had COVID or they were dealing with some symptoms, how did you guys adjust with that business? You said stay over there, but you still had to interact with them in some way, some fashion.
Depends on the severity of the situation. Each case was different. I mean, sometimes companies would provide people in apartments space heaters or temporary cooling until someone, got through their COVID issue. And so, yeah, you got to protect your people. It was a pretty serious matter, but at the same token, the world doesn't stop. You got to keep it going. And, you know, we were one of the companies that were out there making that happen.
Next, I would like to talk about win number 2. I played the video. That was a four wide win, your first 4-wide win of your career. Do you like 4-wide racing better than a 2-wide? What's your opinion on that?
I like the 4-wides a lot. I think they're fun. They really keep you on your toes. It's something different. It's definitely, as a fan, it's a lot to take in because our sport's so fast. So it's real. You can't really focus on 4 different people in the grandstand. So, but as a rider, it reminds me of back in the day on, you know, with your friends out on the streets, and you all pull up to a stoplight and there's 4 or 5 of you there and you all race. You know, I mean, it was, and it gives you 4 people to talk smack to at the end of the track.
Yeah.
You know, or three people to talk smack to. Yeah. So it's just something different. It keeps it exciting. Our sport, you know, is so impressive, but you put 40, 50,000 horsepower in the stands. There's nothing like 4 top fuel cars lighting up and taking off, and you know, 4 of the fastest motorcycles in the world taking off and leaving the line. So it's impressive.
Does either Wally mean more to you? Does that first one mean more to you compared to the second one? Are they both about the same?
I mean, it's hard to say that the first one's not your favorite. You know, that, you know, the weird part about winning the first one in 2020 was the fans weren't there.
Correct.
And, you know, there was kind of tarnishes the win a little bit when you don't get all the celebration and the excitement. So it was nice to get to see what that was really like and win another one so close together.
Yes. Next, I would like to talk about this. You are very, very close to achieving this mark. So you went 199 miles an hour plus in a race going down the track. The record that several of your classmates have achieved is 200 miles an hour. Do you think you can achieve that in the very near future?
Yeah, definitely. Now that we got our program back on track and we've definitely seen some advantages of some of our tuning. And, you know, that day I went 199, I went 199.91, and I hit the rev limiter. I hit the rev limiter in first gear. So, you know, it wasn't my time. You know, it wasn't my time. And somebody up there says, Ryan, you're going to have to work several more years and work a little bit harder till that 200 number is going to pop up. And it's just going to pop up. It takes the right day, it takes the right conditions. It's getting to, you know, and of course, the easiest thing to make it happen is horsepower. So now that we're actually looking for horsepower, we're finding horsepower, we're learning how to utilize that power that you gain with gear ratio and your whole setup. Yeah, we'll be clicking off 200 before long. But more like everyone asks, when are you going to go 200? I don't care if I go 199 mile an hour for the rest of my life, as long as I can go win every one of the races. I don't care. You know, I seen Jerry Savoy. Jerry Savoy beat Matt Smith. He went 189 and still beat Matt that was going almost 197 or 8. You know, it's just
the whole shot.
No, he just gets it. Jerry was getting it done on the short end of the track.
Okay.
And he really had it set up. It was in Dallas, and you know, it showed you then that, hey, you don't have to go big mile an hour to win races, but you got to get what power you do have down to the ground and turn. It's an ET race. It's not a mile an hour race.
Yes.
So, but granted, of course, I'd like to get that monkey off my back and see a time slip with 200. That'd be great. And it's going to happen here because the V twins definitely utilize torque, gear ratio, and we run a stronger back half than the Suzukis. But now with the 4-valve head on the Suzukis, you're seeing that 200 mile an hour is very achievable for them as well. So it's not just a V-twin game anymore in the mile an hour world.
You talked about your struggles last year. You finished 10th in your category. For those that do not know, could you highlight some of your struggles and what you have done differently with your program in the off season for this upcoming season that we're about to embark on next month?
Well, when we started off last year, we had already come off of a rough year the year before. Started out with the win, started out with a runner-up, then a win, and then a blow-up that was so severe I about about came off the bike. I ended up driving off the end of the track at, I don't know, well over 100 miles an hour. And that's when we said, okay, we knew we had this reliability issue. We've just blown up like 6 engines in the last, like 10 outings, and it was starting to be kind of rough. And we said, we got to do something because this isn't safe, So that's when we started seeking out reliability. Well, that's when we also lost our performance. So then when we show up in the beginning of 2022, we said, you know what? Put everything back to how this bike was in 2020. I mean, everything. And let's reaffirm that we can start back over at our benchmark. And we did. We went 683 at 198 or something right off the trailer. Jerry Savoy beat me just by a little bit. He went like a 79 to my 83. But we said, okay, we're right back where we were. Now change everything. So that's when we changed motor concept. Went from the Gen 1 style engines to the Gen 2 style S&S V-twin engines. Changed our clutches around. Put a whole new fuel injection and ignition system on the bike. I mean, virtually everything you can change other than the chassis was changed. And now this year, we've honed it took all year to hone all that in. We finished the last part of the year running really strong, just tested, ran really strong. So we've got the program headed in the right direction. We know a lot of things that may have happened when I was, 2020, 2019, and any success I may have been because I just had the right tune up at the right time. Maybe I didn't fully understand exactly what I was doing tuning it, but now over the last 3 years, I have understood what's made the bike go quick and how to tune the clutch better and making it react the way I want it to react, and knowing that, hey, when I do this, it does that. When I do this, it does that, etc. So really, of course, the time that's went by hasn't went to nothing. There's been a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge gained out of it. So now we go into this year, all those little bugs are worked out from last year. We have a super reliable program. The bike's going straight down the track and it's fast. Now we have our engine dyno up and running. So we're in our engine dyno test cell. We're in a development program, and tomorrow my brand new bike shows up tomorrow. So I have a brand new design chassis. Mike Mullaney, formerly from Vance and Hines, he built all the Vance and Hines Harley chassis and some of the Suzuki chassis. He's been on his own for a couple years now, and he's been building me a bike, and it's taken a little while because it's not a copy. It's a completely new design, and it's definitely, we're hoping that it's going to be a secret weapon going into the middle part of this year. It's going to take a little bit to get it shake down. A new bike, you got to really go after a couple little things and make sure that everything lines up and works and that it's faster. So we'll keep our bike just like we have it now and have it sitting there as our competitive race bike. Meanwhile, we're going to be testing this brand new bike, and hopefully that it shows that it's got some serious advantages that put a little extra emphasis on ET for our program, and that we can show up hopefully at the middle of the season prior to the U.S. Nationals and start racing the new bike and have an advantage there as well.
So for the new bike that's coming tomorrow, does anybody like your competitors know that you have a new bike? Did the NHRA, since it's a new design, did they have to approve it?
They will approve. See, as long as the chassis rules fall under the chassis rules, then it'll be approved. The body work is the same as my current body work, still the Buell 1190 RX style body work, all brand new though. And so we'll have, a secret weapon, we hope, but when we have it ready, it'll go to a national event, and that's when it goes through the tech process to make sure everything lines up correctly and that everything falls within the parameters of the rules. But we're really hoping that it's a lot lighter, and that it, has the ability to have some forward ballast on the bike, is one thing we really need. And so that'll definitely be something fun. I mean, not a lot of people can say they get a brand new pro stock bike on a Tuesday. So
also, you mentioned maybe the debut at the U.S. Nationals.
Well, we'll see. It'll debut when it's ready. So as soon as it proves itself is where it comes down to. The moment that it proves to be an advantage, it'll be going down the racetrack.
So how long does that take? Does that take a couple weeks, a couple months?
But we'll just find out. I mean, we got a break after Gainesville of 6 weeks. So, and that time is when I'm going to, why it's got to be fully wired. It's got to be fully plumbed. We've got to get everything running, working, and then we got to get it out on the track and start testing it. So I presume that'll take, I mean, if we get lucky and it goes out on the track and it goes straight right off the bat and shows that it's already got some advantages, we'll hop right on board with it.
Okay.
But we're not going to rush it either. It's, we've got a bike right now that's doing everything we want it to do. We don't want to lose sight of that. And then the good thing about it is once the other bike hopefully does prove that it's an advantage, we will have two bikes that are sitting there. I mean, currently we have another bike that could equally be as competitive as what we have, but it takes a lot to make these bikes what they are. And
yes,
it's not just having the stuff. It's constantly touching it and rubbing it and massaging it and putting it into a very happy place that everything just jives and works. So I just having all the pieces isn't the hard part. It's making it all work in perfect harmony together. So my current bike has had a lot of love, and it's also very tired because it's been out there for so many seasons. But not to say that someone like Angel may not, show up and make an appearance and ride for us at the U.S. Nationals or something like that and wave the El Bandito flag. We don't know that, but I'm just saying it would be an
maybe you're hinting at something because I haven't seen their announcement of a ride for this year.
Yeah, those teal colors would look good on her too.
If it's not the U.S. Nationals, would you bring it out an hour from me in Pennsylvania for the beginning of the countdown?
Oh, you just never know, man. You just never know.
Okay. Because the weird thing about Maple Grove is you bike guys are all weirdly down a long, far walk from the beginning of the tower.
Well, we roll it by the tower at least 4 times, no matter what. So maybe roll it up a little early for you.
Yeah, I'm usually in that tower sometimes, or I'm roaming all over the place of that track. But like a lot of people, like a lot of like funny cars, top fuel dragsters, and pro side people or the sportsman people, they stop me to talk to me because I'm doing interviews with them, and then I can't really go to the bike people because then they interfere with me talking to everyone. I can't talk to everyone. It's just like impossible.
I understand.
You talked about testing. You went to Clearwater. I believe you said Clearwater, where your one business is, and then tested in Gainesville. Are you allowed to? You may not give out a lot of information because then your competitors may watch this, but are you allowed to reveal anything about how the testing went?
We ran our best 60 foot of the year. We ran our best 60 foot really that we've had most of last year. We ran our best 8th mile that we've ran in over a year and a half. And we spent a lot of time, there's really not a lot of point of ringing them out. A lot of the damage is done on the V twins and any of these bikes after the first 660. So we stayed running under 1,000 foot for the most part, but we ran some exceptional times for our program, especially we only had our C motor in the bike. We didn't even get a chance to run our A motor. So we're excited to go back to Gainesville, have the A motor in there, and hopefully put some good numbers on the board and go some rounds. That's what we want to do. So yeah, testing was great. It was awesome. I mean, there's nothing better than racing in Gainesville. And I was really disappointed that usually we get to test at Gainesville the week of the Gators for the last 2 years we have. And for some reason this year in NHRA, we didn't get invited. So you already heard my opinion on that. So hopefully next year we get to come back and spend a day at least or two in Gainesville prior to the race, because that's just anytime you get a chance to race on that track, it's just an absolute honor.
Well, they raced the baby Gators the week before.
Yeah, but we always have the testing that we get to do. Like they're testing Top Fuel Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at Gators prior to the race. And last year we got to do like Tuesday, Wednesday as well. So, but this year we're going to be going back to Orlando to test there prior to the race.
Orlando Speed World, right?
Yep.
where that or well, it used to be that, but now it's in Bradenton, I believe.
Yeah, the
The
Bradenton will be
Promine.
that big shootout race for the
Yeah,
pro mods. Yeah.
yeah, and there's a mountain motor. There's another category that just like recently got accepted into that bunch as well. Ryan, what's your goals for this season?
I'd like to put another couple Wallies on the shelf. Like to finish in the top 5. Those are my main goals, and go put a solid performance forward and show everybody that I'm back and I'm ready to do business and and be a threat to everybody once again, so that they can remember that they're not going to get an easy win first round from Flying Ryan.
You said top 5. What do you have to do, because every you can't go out early if you want to be in top 5.
You need to get out of the first round. Well, no matter what, you got to make the countdown. I mean, that's
Correct.
about so. Once you make the countdown, that's when you really got to put some points forward. But you need to have the momentum prior to that. You need to be solid. You need to be going rounds. You need to make it all the way up in the semifinals as much as humanly possible. But, like any race, got to get out of the first round first. You got to qualify decently enough to make that easier on you, and that's the hard thing.
Yes.
You need to, and trust me, the group, you qualify 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That group's so tight, so there's never an easy first round for anybody. So no matter what, you got to put whoever's in the other lane out of your mind, and you got to go do your absolute best to cut a good light and do your job, and let the chips fall where they fall. And if you got the performance, you'll be the one moving on to the next round.
Finally, Ryan, outside of racing, you touched on one of your businesses, but could you tell our audience what you do outside of racing with the businesses that you have, the one in Florida and the one close to you?
Yeah. So where I'm at today, I'm in Bloomington, Illinois. A lot of people don't really know where I'm from, it sounds like. So Bloomington, Illinois, I own a heating and cooling business. I've lived here most of my life. Prior to Bloomington, Illinois, we were in Lafayette, Indiana. So, but this is where my family's been for roughly almost 32 years or so. I've been here. So heating and cooling is the lifeblood of the family. My dad runs the racing. My dad went from a racing business into the heating and cooling, which was very fortunate enough because it's a good business. It's allowed us to do a lot of things we're doing today. But now Dad runs the racing side of our business and is in the back. My business that we started for fun started with a friend of mine who was on our team, Jim Gottman. He's from the Charlotte area. We were in Clearwater, Florida, and we'd always go rent rental cars from the airport and go to the drag strip. And it was just something fun to do, and we ended up doing that with a group of us. And it was so much fun that we said, you know what? We need to do this legitimately. We need to have this as a business that doesn't deter people from wanting to take today's modern sports cars out and ring them out. We need to, show that it can be done in a safe way at a racetrack with all the safety gear and give people this experience that they've never had before. So in that, Tampa Bay Race Rentals was developed and conceived, and we've got 2 Mustang GT50s that are right in the heart of Clearwater, Florida. And if you fly into Tampa International, we're only 15 minutes away. If you fly into St. Pete Clearwater International, you're less than 3 minutes from the racetrack. So it's pretty cool. Showtime Drag Strip is just an absolute hidden gem right in the middle of Clearwater. And we do corporate outings, birthday parties. On Wednesday nights, they run a test and tune program. We always have the cars out Wednesday night for anybody who wants to make passes in them there. And it's just a real treat to get to see the smiles and the emotions from people who have never got to go race down the racetrack before. So it's pretty rewarding.
With everything you had to juggle at home in the race team, how hands-on are you with that operation in Florida?
So I got 2 guys that are working it pretty hard for me down there. Robert and Dale are locals to the area, and they pretty much run a lot of the programs. If we get some big ones that are going on, I like to come down and assist with some of those. But yeah, those guys, without them, I really couldn't do it. The goal is one day to live there and move the whole racing operation to the Clearwater, Florida area. So we were kind of trying to lay the groundwork for having a business down there that would be something available for when I make a transition, to having something else I can be a part of. I'm definitely not the guy who's ever thinking I'll move to Clearwater, Florida to retire. If I'm going to move down there, I'm going to get a job. And the easiest way to get a job is to have a business that's already up and running that I own,
Right. You mentioned maybe moving the race team there. That's there's not many Florida-based teams.
No, it's the same problem you first started about. You'd be at the all the way in the foot of the country, So,
yeah.
But man, is it nice down there? And you can race 365 days a year. So,
oh, wow.
When you're in Illinois, you're not racing in November.
You got snow like us in New Jersey.
So.
Yeah, you got snow like us.
That's right.
Well, thankfully we haven't had much snow this year, but
it's been a mild winter, no doubt.
Yeah, so let's keep up the hot weather. It was like 60 something today. I'll take that.
I hear you.
Let's see what it was today. 58. So
pretty
close
good.
enough.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Instead of cold and like -9, well, it was in December on one day, right before Christmas at nighttime. But Ryan, thanks for your time today. Good luck on your 2023 season that begins at Gainesville in March. March
9th through the 12th.
Yeah, but you guys don't race the 9th. The sportsman people do.
No, I'm just looking at my calendar on the wall here. So that's how I keep my life straight.
Oh, okay. I know you guys begin racing on the 10th.
Yeah.
You go through the 12th. So
that's right.
That's what way I look at it. Because they always put Thursday through Sunday on those calendar days, and I was like, you guys don't race on the day before.
They should let us race Thursday though. That'd be more fun.
Well, there was one time I'll mention this before I disconnect. So there's been a lot of drivers that I've actually talked to that actually want to get rid of this 3-day schedule and go to a 2-day schedule, a Friday and Saturday, and call it quits.
Yeah, I don't mind that either. It's a lot being gone this much, and my wife, I see my phone over here blinking. My wife's wondering where I'm at, a baby girl at home and a business I got notes all over the place. They need me. I need to be in more places at once than I can possibly be, but I'm doing my best.
But you can't do that.
Nope, can't do it.
Well, Ryan, I'll let you go. So thank you for your time tonight. Like I said, good luck on your 2023 season. Everyone, outside of being on Facebook Live and YouTube Live right now, this will be uploaded onto Rumble, BitChute, and be converted into a podcast on Anchor.fm. Thanks again, Ryan, for your time tonight, and good luck again.
Thank you, Anthony. I really appreciate you having me on, man. We'll see you in Gainesville, right?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right. Bye.
Bye.